Friends, personal organization is a habit we could all use early on. For instance, have you watched the show today? Anyway, here with more on how to keep you and your family organized is Helen Austin, owner of Organized by Helen. Hello, Helen.
Thanks for having me back.
So, this would be a really handy thing, it occurs to me. We were talking off camera, that perhaps your kids aren't quite as organized as you would have liked. Maybe they didn't.
I learned the hard way that they actually need to be taught some principles to actually help them become more organized. They actually scored pretty low on organization at school. And I'm like, oh, the irony.
That's so
like,
sad.
I'm their mom, and here we are. So this is really kind of personal to me because I was like, oh, I need to be a little more intentional about this. And what does that look like? What does it look like age-wise and, as they get older, and what can you do?
Okay, so show us. So for those of us with a bazillion small paintbrushes around our house, what on earth do we do with these?
Well, this is an organizing tool. You actually want to start, so when they're 5 and under, even your 18-month-olds can learn how to maintain organizing systems. So in other words, if you have a box and a landing place for everything, you should have a home for everything and clearly labeled. And those kids, you can say, go put the cars back in the car box and go put it in its home. You want to use language that makes sense to them with everything. Put your toothbrush back in its home. And this gives them the idea that everything has a home and that we put things back in their homes. And you can drill that over and over when they're young. And then when they get into elementary school, you can give them a little more freedom. Introduce organizing tools. And these may seem obvious to us, things like planners and folders, certain types of bins that hold things, label makers, but introduce them to these items and why we use them. Just don't say use them, but say why and say, well, it can be used this way or that way, because ultimately what you want to do is teach them how to design their own organizing system. There is no one size fits all organizing way of doing things when it comes down to like where things get put away, what items you do and don't use.
Do you do personal interventions? Because it seems to me like my wife could use a little of this.
Oh, don't say that. That's wrong. That's not good.
I'm kind of an organizer.
Here.
She's not really an organizer, and so sometimes there's a little clash there.
Yeah.
It's a really handy skill, though, isn't it? Because as you move through life, there are a number of ways where this little thing, like, hey, I learned when I was a little kid to put the car
Seriously, it does. So especially in school. So think middle school is a really good time for them to really dive into finding out what organizing system works for them. Let them try different strategies and different things because it's not going to cost them there. You hit high school, college, and then job, and you're not organized, you're going to have some serious issues, right? So letting them experiment and try different things on the early end is going to be a lot more beneficial to them in the long term. Last, also, sentimental stuff become the next pitfall that a lot of us deal with of what all the things we want to hold on to. When they are entering the tween years, like 10 and up, they're kind of going in between playing with cars and being older, kids and growing into being, teenagers. So it's a really good time to help them know that there are boundaries in what they should and shouldn't keep. Let them sort through it, explain that there, are limited spaces. So this is my example. If this is for this is my 8-year-old's box. If you keep stuff that's sentimental, you should be able to enjoy it and access it. So it's a little cute little box that he can keep his own little things in and refer to it. And then long-term storage, give him one box and say, that's it. So maybe if you're maxing out,
that's so handy.
Get rid of it.
I did that in college. I would move from place to place and I would force myself to stay in 1 or 2 boxes. Anyway, you can learn more about this. I think a valuable life skill. We've had fun with it, but seriously, something that will pay off dividends as you move through life. Thank you so much, Helen.
Thanks.
For more, you can head to our website, kclive.tv.
For more Kansas City Live,
tune in at 10 a.m. weekdays on your 41 Action News Station.